Well, good morning and welcome to Tuesday Chat once again. And who have we got this week? We go over to the United States to see Dennis and Doreen Lawton. So send us a big hello there so that we can see you.
Hello, hi.
Good to see you both. Maybe just I'll briefly introduce them so that Reverend Dennis Lawton, a minister with the United Methodist Church, and his wife Doreen, who was Doreen Armitage from Cloughjordan. And so just for all those people who aren't, maybe on the edges of the circle who aren't quite sure now, who's she now? Which Armitage is Doreen? So there's so many of them. Bertha's daughter and sister of Keith and Roy and whoever else around.
Edwin and Clodagh.
And Clodagh, who's where Bertha is staying at the moment. So actually, maybe we'll ask you first of all, Doreen, about your mum.
She's had a triple bypass before Christmas, and she went in for stents, and then they decided that they wouldn't work, so she was kind of rushed into a triple bypass. So they took a vein from her leg and they reconstructed her heart vessels. So she's been recovering at my sister's. She's had a little setback with the wound in her leg. It had opened up, so that's got a wound vacuum on it now, and it's slowly healing up. So she had a checkup on this week, and I haven't heard back yet. I've been working, so with the time difference.
No, that's okay.
But we understand as well that she's even taking walks around the estate.
Good.
So she's Clodagh works in health promotion, so she'll be cracking the whip and making sure she does her exercise.
Doing those stair climbers.
Good, super. Well, and then of course our recording here is a few days later as well. So she's making good slow progress. Good. Well, actually, maybe I should be asking you both about where you are and where is home for you? Where are you now?
Oh, I would have been raised about 2 hours north of Pittsburgh, up on the shore of Lake Erie, with Canada right across the water from us. Where we are now is about 15 minutes from the heart of Pittsburgh. We're just off of the Ohio River as it makes its way to the Mississippi and south. So we're in a small town of about 5,000, and then rural areas further to the north and more urban to the south. Some not doing badly, prosperous, well-to-do, and lots of others are a little bit more gritty and a little bit more broken down kind of urban environment as sometimes has happened.
Okay. Well, maybe I should actually take a step back and ask you about both your kind of life journeys, and maybe even how you met. And as you start talking about that, we'll have a picture up that I think you'll be highlighting as well. So tell us about.
That's when I met in '94. And it was in Edge Hill, which, as many of you will know, it's where the Methodist ministers in Ireland are trained. I was the cook housekeeper for 2 years, and Dennis was a student on exchange from Wesley Seminary in Washington, D.C. We met on my first day of work, and I was replacing Joyce Doherty. She was getting married to Andrew Doherty. And we explored Belfast in the time of the first ceasefire.
Okay.
And Dennis had a nice American accent and I had a true Southern brogue. So wherever I went, I was searched. So I would pal around with Dennis and say, you ask for directions. So Dennis would put on his best Texas accent and say, pardon me, ma'am, we seem to be turned around.
The photo that you see on the screen is Doreen and I there next to the principal, Dennis Cook. And these are the students who were living in. Some of them in the second row were just Queen's students, but then there are other ministerial members there. Rosemary Lindsay next to me, who spent some time in Burr and further apart in Wicklow. Lawrence Graham is just above me. I believe he's in Dublin at the moment.
Dublin Central Mission.
With hair.
Nice, yes.
Where's Nigel? Here, yes.
Yep.
That's Nigel. And next to him, Joe Sweeney and Wesley Campbell. Robin Waugh down in the front.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
So,
Good.
I had been living in Rossgrey prior to my appointment to Edge Hill, and I was pretty fed up with the gritty pub life that I was working as a bar and restaurant work, which I had trained for in Galway, regional tech. And I went and I had a chat with Reverend Tom Kingston, and I said that I was unhappy, and if he knew of any more meaningful work that I could be involved in. So he got back to me in a couple of weeks later and told me about the opening at Edge Hill.
Great.
And the rest, as they say, is history, right?
Yes.
Super.
Yes.
Well, that's great. And well, sorry, we're moving. We're speeding up history a lot, showing this picture. So tell us about your family.
We have a daughter who's going to be 23 next month. Hard to believe. She looks like she's 15. And then we have a son. That's Devon. And then we have a son, Owen, who's in the Air Force. He's based out in Tucson, and we miss him a lot. We don't see him very much. We hadn't seen him for 17 months, I think, when he surprised us for Thanksgiving when he came home.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
That was, he's knocked on the door at midnight, and there he was.
Brilliant.
So we also have a Yorkshire Terrier puppy.
Which ties us to the previous week family, that they're in Yorkshire, and we have a Yorkie.
Yes, you can see our little squirmy Yorkie there. I understand you have a great fondness for dogs too.
Well, I'm looking after the dogs for the SPCA at the moment.
That's wonderful.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
so you may well hear a noise in the background at some point, but.
Oh yes, we put ours away because he was too squirmy, and
he's getting into the yarn.
I'm knitting a pair of socks here, so he was squirming on my lap, and so his name is Riley, and he's living the life of Riley.
Good, super, great. Well, can I? And sorry, I was just going to acknowledge that I think your mother was hoping to have gone out last year to you as well. I think she told me.
Supposed to go out in May for Devon's graduation, and then she was supposed to go out in October for Devon's delayed graduation, and then her surgery came along. So she still has a ticket somewhere, and they said they'd refund her whenever things open up.
Good.
So, yeah.
Well, can I ask about your church setting there? I think we can.
Sure. I'm in a station charge for only the second time in my career, meaning that I just have one church, and here it is. Coriopolis United Methodist Church is a church of about 150 years. The building itself is, I think, about 120 years old. Very big music program. A very big kitchen and Meals on Wheels and other feeding programs.
Is that the meals, or is this it?
This is preparing for Thanksgiving.
Oh, sorry.
And the table that you see there set up is an assembly line at which we make we made over 500 meals to be sent out to fire crews, to police stations, to ambulance crews, to low-income housing. That was our Thanksgiving as well.
Okay.
We got that done, and that was enough for us for the day. So
Great.
We ate out of our little styrofoam containers after we had worked hard for 6 or 8 hours. I was cooking the turkeys that day, so I think we had 26 turkeys
Oh,
that
wow.
we cooked. Yeah,
so
It's a big enough job cooking 26.
I know. And then to maintain social distancing and to try and
yeah,
keep everything.
Yeah.
It was.
this is a fundraiser that the ladies of the church put on every Christmas. This is called the Cookie Walk, and we usually raise between $2,000 and $2,500 with that. But as well, around the table, around the room, you see tables set up against the outer wall. And the next picture of Doreen shows.
Oh, sorry. Oh, this one. No.
This one, yes. This is the craft tables as well. So the parents come and buy the cookies, and then the kids come and they do all kinds of crafts and games, and then they go and sit on Santa's lap and they tell him what they want. And there's a great deal of diversity in this community. We do have a Methodist member in our church who's a Buddhist. Doreen is part of a knitting club where there's a Hindu woman who comes and sits in our church and reads our Psalms to help her pray. Well, the Santa at this event is the Jewish doctor in town.
Okay.
So that tells you something of the diversity of,
Right.
the place in which we live.
Yeah. Okay. Now, sorry, we'll look at these other pictures you have. I'm not quite sure if we're
We have
in the right order, but
we have a chancel choir of 20 to 25 people. We have a men's chorale of 6 or 7. We have a women's chorale of 10 or 12. We have a bell choir. The man seated at the piano teaches professionally in the schools music education, as well as an accompanist with some of the Pittsburgh orchestras as well. Highly gifted and devoted folks here. And if you're able to see our worship services are on Facebook, but as well, he does monthly or weekly recitals with opera singers that are, world renowned. He has such a draw on talent. Just to me, a symbol of how the church is a thing of many moving parts and many voices. And when many voices of great talented people come together, it just multiplies what you're capable of doing.
Yeah. Brilliant. I will see what we've missed out. Oh, there's your.
This is the inside of the church's sanctuary. Yeah. This is an opera singer, Marianne Cornetti. When she's not in Pittsburgh, sometimes she's singing in Rome, or I'm not sure, I think London as well. But she came to us to do a benefit concert where we raised, I think, $4,000 that night for the local food bank ministry.
Okay, brilliant. And you haven't had John Armitage to your church to play or sing yet?
Not yet.
Not yet, but he's welcome anytime.
Maybe someday. So, actually, we'll. I think we might come back to that one in a moment. Just I suppose maybe we hear about things in America once in a while. We have to confess now, as I'm sure people guess, Tuesday chat isn't always recorded on a Tuesday. I don't know, Dennis, if you're willing to turn your camera to give us some indication what day this recording might actually be happening on. or make a noise there so we can see it. Can you speak, Dennis, so that it goes?
I can. Can you see what is on the screen?
Yeah.
The Biden family is arriving to the platform. And there is the outgoing Vice President, Mike Pence. It is Inauguration Day.
Wow. Okay.
President Donald Trump had his farewell at Andrews Air Force Base, south of the Capitol, and has left Washington, D.C. He is, if he has not already arrived to Florida, he is very nearly there. And we are seeing a change in the leadership in Washington this day.
Yeah.
More peaceful times.
Thank you for actually recording, being willing to record today, actually. So maybe we didn't work out the timing right, but.
No, that's all right. That's all right. We can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Stephen, I woke up this morning and I said, is Trump gone now? Because he was supposed to leave at 7:30 in the morning. So
yes.
Right.
He threatened that if Joe Biden won, that life in America would be very, very boring. And we all said, promise?
Well, kind of keeping going with sort of
yes.
things in America. Maybe this picture here that you've shared with us, do you want to comment?
This is one of the marches that took place following the the death of George Floyd, that sprung up across America in all 50 states and in many cities. And some of them were large groups where people were bussed in, but many of them, like here in Coraopolis, this was a local group, and the people of the town mingled in on the streets and on the town square. There were many speakers. There were people offering statements. There were people who were preaching. There were people who were praying. There were police there who were mingling in the crowd and were being greeted by people, and people were greeting each other, and none of the turmoil that you saw in images like in Portland, Oregon, and other such things, none of that turmoil was here.
Right.
Where there is a sense of community and people know each other and care about each other, there is the possibility of accomplishing great things. I have to say I was very gratified to be able to online hear an interview that you did with Tip FM about some things that were happening in Borrisokane.
Okay.
And to know that the Methodists were behind that and supportive of folks from other places. That touched me greatly.
Okay. Yeah, pleased to hear that. And you know, while Ireland, you know, we are known as a welcoming country and a warm-hearted people. I think we have to, you know, just take care that we don't allow racism to rise or certain elements in society that do want to bring a narrative that labels other people. Our society does have to watch out for those narratives, and they are dangerous. And in terms of in the US and some of these issues that we do, whether it be on race or maybe some of the other divisions that I suppose we have heard a lot about in recent years, and then maybe we pick up on churches having different approaches, you know, that some churches are very ultra conservative and Trump supporting, and then other churches are on a different end of a spectrum, and whatever. Do you want to say anything about how your own church setting holds some of those conversations or themes or anything?
It's a sad time in a lot of ways, and it has not left us untouched. And there is there is a perfect storm right now of a variety of things, some of them political, and which side are you on in terms of Trump?
Yeah.
Some of them theological. Are you more progressive? Are you more conservative? Our own denomination struggling with the idea of whether or not gay people should be ordained or should be allowed to be married. And it is dividing churches. And we have had, up until this point, we had 3 families leave our church,
right,
because we're not conservative enough. And this morning I went over to the office to get my camera stand so that we could do this. And my secretary handed me an envelope that she said, "You do not want this envelope." She said, "I haven't opened it, but I know I have a good idea what it is." And it was another family saying, "Please remove me from membership."
Right.
Because when the time comes, in whether it be a year or 2 years from now with the denomination, when the time comes, this church will vote to go the progressive route, and to be permissive rather than restrictive.
Right. Yeah.
And there are people who are saying, I see that coming, and I don't want to be part of that. So it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to see that happen.
Yeah.
We need each other.
Yeah.
The more progressive parts that want to reach out to other people is something we need. At times the more conservative parts that want us to stay grounded in scripture is also something we need to listen to. We need, both sides of that.
But then the progressive will argue that it's being grounded in scripture too, in terms of what Christ's ministry is. So, and as a member of the LGBT community, I'm fully in.
I know
all of these discussions,
and I don't just tie it. I don't just tie it to that one issue, but there are a variety of. So,
well, I think just on that, that in Irish Methodism we can hold these discussions well together because we are quite a small unit in a sense, whereas the United Methodist Church, of which you're a part, is not just. I suppose numerically it's substantially the United States of America, but it's worldwide. It's a lot of countries together, and
it's growing very greatly in Africa. I would say that Africa is 25 to 28% of our population. And it's growing all the time. I think there are more delegates to General Conference from Nigeria than from the western half of the United States.
Okay.
So,
well, I suppose maybe you're reflecting there just that on a number of different fronts, there are different tensions, and then what it takes for churches and Christians to work out what it means to live in today's society is a journey. And
it is. I am myself. I have the sense for the first time in all the appointments that I've had in Pennsylvania that I'm now in a church where when that decision is made, I can stay.
Okay.
Most of the other churches I have served would have gone the traditionalist
Okay.
route, the conservative route,
Right.
which would not have been my take on it.
Right. Right. Right.
And I'm now in a church that reflects who I am. I lament those who are leaving, because you're talking about some people, you're talking about 20-year members.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Who send you a 2-sentence email and then they're gone.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's,
Well, that's
do you not want to talk about this? Do you not want to? This is one of the things that's different about America to Ireland. If somebody in my congregation in Ardra or Duncanely decided, I don't want to be part of the church anymore, they could go to the Church of Ireland, or they could go all the way to Donegal town to the Baptist or the Presbyterian church. But there are 12 or 14 churches right here in Coriopolis, and there are a host of others up in the township surrounding us. There are dozens of options for people 2 miles away. Yeah. And it becomes very easy for folks to hop from place to place to place. And,
Well, I'm sorry, I should have acknowledged it earlier on. I think we moved quickly on your life story, but you came over for the year to Edgehill, and then you went to Ardara, Duncanely and Ardara circuit for how long?
We were there for 4 years.
Oh, 4 years, okay.
After we'd done 7 years service in America, we came over for 4.
Okay, right. Oh, gotcha. Super. Well, it must have been during that time that I suppose I somehow got to know you. I can't remember the details of the time.
It probably would have been the Junior Ministers Conference.
Probably, yes, indeed. Must have been.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, we're sort of just before we finish, maybe I should just. Is there anything about this past 10 months, the pandemic, and how life has been for you in particular, and for your church, and anything that you want to reflect on at all?
We've had to learn to think outside the box and do church so much more differently. We had been meeting with maybe 25 people in the sanctuary, in the church building on a Sunday, spread out with pews walled off, rolled up the pew pad so that people would know not to sit there, and with church live at the same time, but going out over Facebook. But our numbers just went through the roof between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and now we
had been getting about 100 to 105 in the sanctuary in February.
Right.
And then we went to that new regime and 25. Yeah. But we're able to go on Facebook. We're able to see who watches us.
Okay.
And on any given Sunday, there's a number of different states. There's a number of different countries. Over the course of a month, I'll go in and I'll see County Tipperary, County Offaly, County Wicklow, County Dublin, County Leitrim, and County Donegal were watching us. 30 different states and 40 different countries have followed us or watched us or been part of. And that's not me. That's not even, I can't even claim that for the church service. That's the music department, which has a reach throughout the world. And I'll say somebody was watching us from Estonia, and Brian say, "Oh yeah, that was a friend of mine." So
now it's all pre-recorded and seen together by our technical experts, and it goes out on YouTube, and it's also on Facebook.
Today I'm doing this with you. At 2:00, I have a weekly devotion that I started after I saw one of your devotionals. But I'll also tape 4 or 5 different pieces for the worship service,
Right.
the opening, the announcements, the benediction, the prayer time, the sermon.
Mhm.
And other people, readers will send their stuff in, and music people will send their stuff in. And we have a video editor who will take 7 hours to create one
Okay.
video with all kinds of
Right.
wording, and it's
Well, everyone is, and that's powerful, and it's great to have a great team and working out how to manage and how to do things. And I hope, well, on both sides of the Atlantic, we make
Yeah.
progress in the coming months and return to freedoms, and yet also maybe new ways where we are developed in our ways of doing things, and
yes.
so yeah.
So,
New ways
yeah.
to do church.
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
trying new things.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
other people are doing Zoom Bible studies.
Yeah.
I tried to do a Zoom Bible study, and I never got more than 2 or 3 people, and even then it was sporadic, and we just
Yeah,
decided,
yeah.
no, we'll wait. And so
Everybody's got to try their own setting, and everywhere varies.
yeah. So
So, well, I think we're sort of coming to, or we're just about at our half hour here, but anything else that you want to say to folks around the North Tipperary circuit?
We'll be married 25 years this coming June, and we're
Very
we're
good.
hoping to get vaccinated and come see you all.
Good.
yes,
Good. Well, we look forward to that, and
Yeah.
hopefully that'll be sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we hope so too.
if
Right.
it gets pushed off, it might get pushed off until August, but
Okay.
we will be there.
Good stuff. Right. Well, listen, Doreen and Dennis, thank you very much for joining us on our second Tuesday chat. Glad to have you with us. So we'll let your screen show up last with you saying goodbye. So
Oh, bye.
Bye.